right. So this is a historic burn barrel. Alice is just about passed away. And I am running the show alone. What makes this historic is this is the first ever burn barrel Ask Me Anything, which actually is something you could always do all the time anyway. Most of you already have and gotten the mediocre answers you were looking for. As I tweeted just moments ago, in Alice's absence, I will be holding our first ever Ask Me Anything, anything at all about me, Alice, our show, or any of the far more successful people I've worked with. Anything goes. So there you go. Now, as far as there's three other things I want to talk about that we will hit. And one starts with this hockey player, this guy, and I'm not really sure of his name. Actually, I wrote his name down today. I wrote a little note. It is Ivan Provorov of the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers. I think he's a Russian. He's Russian Orthodox anyway. Not as Kirk said today. Minahan said, the Russian Jewish Orthodox? No. He's Russian Orthodox. And, so he's a Christian. And he's got, he refused to, it was like Pride Night or something, and he refused to wear the Pride-themed jersey. And, of course, that's a thing now. Because everything about hockey is about, and everything, now the NHL, which I'm surprised that this happened, but the NHL is like, hockey is secondary now. They are all in for all the wokey stuff, and so it's got to be, like with everything else, it's just got to be completely and utterly, like, ruined with this crap. So let me grab him here. This is him talking, answering questions about the game, and here we go. Come on, Ivan. I haven't heard.
Everybody, I respect everybody's choices. My choice is to stay true to myself and my religion. That's all I'm going to say.
How do your religious beliefs?
Like I said, that's all I'm going to comment on that.
Smart.
If you have any hockey questions, I would answer those.
Can you just clarify what
What is your religion?
Can you clarify your religion?
Russian Orthodox.
So with the game tonight, Ivan.
He moves on.
Obviously, Kevin, he's got.
So and obviously this whole thing is this whole intimidation thing, this bullying where you have to wear the other thing that everybody's wearing, be all into it. It's like the Pride movement is multifaceted. It's not simply we're wearing tolerance for this. We're wearing it's political. It's got 100 different tendrils of different sub-causes. In the Pride movement is also now the LGBTQIA plus stuff. In that, under that umbrella is what's going on in schools with kids and in top surgery and this and that. So no, damn it. No, get yourself off. If you want to be the most, virtuous person in the world, dress up like the Chiquita Banana Girl on the ice. Whatever you want. Just leave me alone. Leave this dude alone. But it's not enough. All of this stuff is just a way to push people until you can finally get to the point where you can have the tantrum you always wanted. All they ever want to do is be able to melt down and scream at people and say, you're bad, it's all about hate, you're force for hate. And it's really about those people having a deep deficit in their own hearts. This is some hockey show, BT, whatever that is.
Three things, technically. Provorov also spoke to the media after the game and echoed what Tortorella said, so I didn't feel the need to run it. This happened in baseball last year with the Tampa Bay Rays. There were 5 members of the Tampa Bay Rays who wouldn't wear a patch supporting gay rights, and Major League Baseball didn't do much. It was a story for a little bit. John Tortorella, many years ago...
Tortorella's the coach. He's obviously from Boston, and he's a little wacky, I think. That's what I get from him. He also came out there and said, like, I'm not going to answer too many questions. To get the kid can do what he wants, essentially.
Racial injustice, and it still is till this day, but when Colin Kaepernick first started kneeling during national anthem, said, anyone who does that on my team is going to sit. And he has a son who's an Army Ranger. So it's not like Tortorella in the past hasn't spoken on sensitive issues. The theme from the National Hockey League is hockey is for everyone, okay?
Well,
the theme is not hockey.
No, hold on. This guy's about to tell us, I think, why everybody has to conform completely with this huge progressive symbolic movement thing. We'll go back to him.
He's for everyone, ... unless you don't believe in gay rights, then do whatever you want. If the National Hockey...
That's an insincere, disingenuous thing this POS just said. Because we don't know who believes in gay rights or not. Or you're allowed to have your own beliefs. In anything. You're allowed to have your own beliefs. He doesn't want to wear the shirt. The shirt means more than just gay rights. It obviously hides its other 5,000 agendas behind that. Wear the pin. You don't want to wear the pin? It's like, sure, it might mean tolerance for gay people. It means a whole lot more. But the onus should not be on this hockey player to have to disavow what they've decided is his default homophobia.
Hockey League's going to do this. If any league is going to do this, do it properly or reevaluate what you're doing. Because there's not a lot of repercussions that I'm seeing from any league. Now, it could change with the NHL. Could change with the NHL. I think you find the Flyers $1 million for this. I'm not kidding. Figure this out and stop offending people on nights where it's not about that. It's supposed to be about inclusivity.
Stop offending people. So they have this taunt out there where they put them in the positions of being offended. They're saying it's on you. You better comply totally with everything we tell you to do, or else we've deemed ourselves offended. So you want to fine them millions of bucks? It is absolute psychotic craziness. These people are sickos. Incredible.
The National Hockey League need to attack this and figure this out. Because what I heard last night was offensive and didn't make any sense. Because, for instance, if that was a military night, okay?
Right.
If anyone in Canada or in the States on a military appreciation night wouldn't wear a jersey pregame, do you have any idea the uproar that would have happened on that? Do you have any...
Shut up! This guy just got finished talking about Colin Kaepernick. So we know where this guy fails about that. He indicted the coach because the coach had a problem with Kaepernick did. Kaepernick disrespected law enforcement and the military. He disrespected the flag. So, like, don't act as if, like, this is... And people can do... And by the way, people can be in an uproar about the military or not about the military. It's a little bit different, by the way. A celebration of the military. We don't get to have gay pride floats and pride flags and gay night at the hockey place. We don't get to have drag queen story hour, etc. We don't get any of that stuff if it's not for the military. So the military is different, okay? I know the people at Stonewall did great things. They did not cast off the British. They did not cast off the Nazis, okay? The United States military is a special situation. It's not the same.
Any idea the backlash? Do you have any idea what happened on social media?
Who gives a flying F what happens on social media? What a bitch this guy is. I don't know who this is. This is BT, whatever it's called. But my goodness, imagine. You don't have any idea what happens on social media. Yeah, a bunch of people would be a-holes on social media. If you can't handle it, then get off of social media. No, but I have something for you. I have this for you.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure. That was not drugs I was handing you. That was a Kit Kat. She's in bad health.
It's ridiculous what would happen.
It was just a minute ago we were talking about the uproar that was happening with FIFA fever, where if you were seen with so much as a rainbow anywhere, you had to fear for your life, imprisonment, or death.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's because it's happening in Qatar or whatever, where these places have zero tolerance for many human rights. Okay?
So, and now here we are.
Oh, it's the same. It's the same because this guy won't wear your gay flag pride hockey jersey. It's the same thing as being persecuted in countries where there's no tolerance for gays. You have to wear the jersey or it's hate and violence. Really? You bitches.
I just think the NHL has to do something here. This is not good enough. This is not good enough. Hockey is for everyone, ... unless...
That is... Okay, hockey's for everyone. Okay, then everybody go play hockey. I'm sure every hockey team would draft every person. LGBTQIA plus second people's persons, the original land of the Wanab, and you know every BIPOC, every short, tall, skinny, fat, whatever. All the things hockey would. If you're good, I'm sure they would draft you in a second. Hockey is for everyone. I agree with that. Doesn't mean everybody has to do your stupid symbol wearing crap all the time. put it on the special jersey. He doesn't want to. He's got religious beliefs, okay? He has religious beliefs where that stuff. By the way, where's the tolerance for his religious beliefs? By the way, he's not making you wear a Russian Orthodox jersey. Don't make him wear something that symbolizes something antithetical to his religion. But he gets no quarter. Every accommodation has to be made for everybody else's special interest in progressive journey. But for him, no, nothing. Nope.
Unless you don't agree with gay rights is not the phrasing of this. You're either in this or you're not. And one last point. Nothing scares me more than any human being who says, I'm not doing this because of my religious beliefs. Because when you looked in people's lives, you normally say that publicly, you'd throw up at what you saw.
What the hell is he talking about?
You would throw up at what you saw. And I have seen that a million times in a lot of different ways. So don't give me that. With respect, don't give me that because no one's perfect. All right? Don't feed me the religious beliefs line. And all of a sudden the NHL is going to back off this. The National Hockey League.
Well, I mean, I think he's not doing it for religious beliefs. It's not suggesting that everybody's not perfect. By the way, I'm not really a religious person whatsoever. But you can have a problem with certain. I would have a problem with this because you're asking him to espouse the beliefs that fall under the umbrella of the flag. That's it. And now it's ever expanding. It's not just make being gay, stop having being gay illegal from the 1960s and 70s. You know, it's not, let's make sure that hateful people don't extort and bash gay people. It's not, let's not worry about AIDS because it's only killing gay people. This is the prongs of the pride movement now. A lot of them are very troublesome. And don't give me this crap. They have to update it for everything because no. I would say that I've worked with a lot of gay guys, and certainly in women in hotels, and they're my friends like anybody else in the hotels. Doesn't mean I'm for some dude teacher who's pretending he's a girl with a nose ring and the half-shaved head, half-purple hair, having a gender journey with my child, okay? I'm not for every part of thing that falls under that banner. And a lot of this nonsense does. And just because this crying bitch is all in a tizzy because he demands everybody be all in because he's a fascistic dickhead, doesn't mean I have to be, swayed by him.
Today needs to find that organization $1 million and reevaluate how they support gay rights. Because that is insulting.
You are a fascist bitch. Imagine that. Find him $1 million. Because that guy didn't put on that shirt that has connotations that guy doesn't believe in spiritually. Find it. Can you imagine this guy? Oh, miserable bitch.
That is insulting what happened in Philadelphia. And if the NHL's serious about this, they say they are. We'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see how serious they are today. But that whole thing was mishandled, and part of me couldn't believe it. Part of me could, considering how the NHL sometimes handles things.
And it's too important, and that's why you're continuing to talk about it, because you're not.
Shut up, lady. Okay, this guy is like, he came close to tears in the middle of this thing. Can you imagine that? That's what we're doing now. We're wasting time because you don't opt completely. By the way, NHL, you asked for this. In for a penny. The moment you opt into this horse bleep, the moment it's absolutely over. Never give them anything. Never give them anything. Anything. I would not wear the pride shirt if my company told me to. The hell with that. If they offered me like $300,000, I would go absolutely as a drag queen. There's no doubt about that. But no, I wouldn't because my company told me to. No, I'm not espousing this stuff. I'm not pretending to believe something like that. Now, that said, if a gay friend of mine said, hey, it would mean a lot to me today. Do you mind wearing this shirt just out of support for my lifestyle, etc.? That's more personal. And I consider the friendship and what it means to that person there. And that's the whole difference, you know. It's like this, the bullying part, you better wear it, and just waiting for it to be pounced on you. That's one thing. But if somebody asks you as a person, there's a guy who we and we had this when I worked in hotels too. They were transvestites back then. I don't know what they are, or transsexuals back then. I don't know what you call it now. I guess they're just trans. I don't know. But if a guy is presenting as a woman and is asking to be called she and her and has is exceptionally, you know, has transformed or is living the life totally as a woman, and I know that person wants me to call her new name or whatever, maybe a legal name in case of the hotel, of course. Why would I not? I would do I'll make an accommodation for somebody if they ask me. If they tell me, that's a different freaking story. And I think it's probably the same with you guys. All right, where is this thing on here? Where is this thing on? Alice usually does this, so hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay. Is Graham the a-hole he clearly appears to be? What Graham? Oh, is that the dude? Michael Graham. Michael Graham? Is it Michael Graham? Let me know what you mean, if you mean Michael Graham. I used to be the biggest sports fan. This stuff has destroyed professional sports. That's Wakefield Mole. Dave Lunatics. Trish, any hockey fans not driven away by this absolute jerk have no testicular... Correct. Don Cherry, I know. I think about those guys. I think about those guys all the time. Like the times were different with the Big Bad Bruins. But if that friend knows your beliefs and still asks you to wear the shirt, then they're not respecting you as they wish to be respected by you. I agree. Yes, correct. Okay, Trish says, is Graham the biggest a-hole the a-hole he clearly appears to be? So let me tell you about Michael Graham. He's an a-hole, like in the sense that all my friends are like a-holes. Like he would rib me, I would rib him. Like any of your friends, like your drinking buddies and friends. And to work with, he's kind of an a-hole. Now, the kind of an a-hole because he's very demanding, and he's only demanding because when he was doing radio, he would pour his heart into the show. He was he'd always be working the show, always working. That's not like that with a lot of hosts. Believe me, it's not like that with a lot of hosts. He was always trying to get the show better. And I think that he'd been burned by having a lot of bad producers. And I wasn't very good at the beginning either. Or a lot of stuff I was never got good at. Like, I was not a great board op or anything like that. It took us about a year, and then he trusted me, and we trusted each other after a year. And he you know, we just kind of proved it to each other, and like he felt like respected, and he could trust is a huge thing with a producer and a radio host. And so, like, he knew that while the show was happening, etc., I was thinking of things to make the show better. When a lot of producers could give a flying F. They're just there pressing buttons. They really want to work for the rock station anyway, and they're just there pressing buttons. They could care less. But so yeah, a lot of times, like, he could be an a-hole on like during the show. You'd have thought a lot of times he'd like give me crap in front of other people, which I don't think was very good. I always thought that was bad box office because I'd have to explain it away to them and say he's not really an a-hole, he's just like kind of jerky, whatever. But that was just the show. There were demands, but I will tell you this: he is, and there probably would be the same, like, but it's a surface level a-hole, and that's when you're his producer only because he wants to have the best, or employee probably only because he wants the best product out there. But it's very surface level. At the same time, he's the most considerate, caring, generous person that I've ever worked with. He's he absolutely, shirt off his back, literally, he would do anything for you at any time. He's, you know, and some of you, I don't want to hear it from some of you guys, but like he would never, I don't think he ever let any of us, me or anybody, like ever buy a drink or ever buy food. Or ever, you know, he'd always extremely generous, extremely caring, extremely generous with his time. I'm sure he would have paid my rent if I begged him to. And so like it's a surface level. He's an a-hole in the same way I'm an a-hole, you know. But you know, he's just got a different style. But no, he's a great guy, absolutely. But you know, so if you love him, oh, did Trump break Michael? I know he was a never. So Michael's in with that Beautiful People set, where his pals are Bill Kristol and Jonah Goldberg, both guys who I like. I think Crystal's just gone nuts, but I love Jonah still, and his pals are J Pod Podesta. No, not Podhoretz. I mean John Podhoretz of Commentary Magazine, because he had a gig. Graham had a gig in Washington D.C. He also has done some writing here. I think he used to write a little bit for the Weekly Standard and for the National Review, and he's right up there with them. So he's a very well studied and deep conservative. He's read, like, he can hold his own with Jonah Goldberg, etc. Where is Alice? So yes. So although I would say Graham's an a-hole, and once again I would say I'm an a-hole, and he would probably enjoy more being called an a-hole than a great guy. He is an extraordinarily great and considerate guy in ways that, let me tell you something, just once again, he would never tell. He doesn't like talk about how many times he's nice. I'll give you a very quick story. One time I came into the studio in the morning when we were at WTKK, and there he was. These two dudes looked like they were in the Bloods gang, and he was in this parking lot with them, these two dudes, fixing their flat tire. They were these dudes who looked like gangbangers. It looked like they were about to shoot him, but they weren't. He's not only fixing their flat tire, changing their tire, but he's telling them, like, hey, you got to remember, you got to do this, make the lug nuts. You guys should know this. So he's like taking his time to like teach them something. So it was just the kind of thing like nobody ever would have seen. Those guys came. If I saw those guys, I would have run like a sissy, 1,000 feet away and probably called the cops. I was, but he just gave. That's the kind of thing. He does that a lot that he'll never get credit for. Julian Phil tuned in a little late. Where's Alice? Alice is sick. We don't know what it is, but she is sick. So she's back there, and she is not. She's got like flu feelings and like cold, sore throat stuff. I did get her some medicine, and I did drag her out of there so she can start up the video. But yes, she is sick. Hopefully, she'll be back tomorrow. It's funny. I'm looking at my haircut here that I got today, and it looks absolutely like a toupee. And I think, is it a toupee? I don't know. I've always had a high forehead. It looks like a toupee. But for the first time, when I was in the barber shop seat today, oh, Trish, I'd love to hear that. Your biggest Graham regret. For the first time ever in the barber shop seats today, barbershop, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. It's a high-end place I call Supercuts. I didn't have my glasses on, and I saw my reflection, and for the first time, I looked like, to me, 50. I was like, no, that's not my young face just trying to work it being old. It's like, that's just an old guy. It's kind of interesting. I'm fine with getting old and being decrepit. I find it interesting, to be honest with you. I was young, and it's nice to be young, but it's also kind of interesting getting older. All right. I want to hit a couple of more things here for the chat. By the way, how great is it that Brian Stelter was at the World Economic Forum talking about the clear and present danger of disinformation? Jesus, imagine that. Imagine going to that thing and thinking. Well, the thing is, that place is packed full of billionaires with lots of real estate. It took jets there, etc. They are into all the cool rides around. They're into all the breakout room sessions they're having. They're into all the pictures of themselves being taken. Obviously, they're buying all of them. And they're into all of it. They're into the wonderful free dinner and the wonderful, caviar and all the beautiful food they have and all the beautiful clubs they have going to and all the events they have to go into and all the beautiful hookers around and all the beautiful drugs and everything. And they're like, these people are the elites of the world. They think they're doing very important work, and they're very important. And they're actually paying to go see Brian effing Stelter. They're impressed by that? Holy hell. How the hell must that be? Let's see. Got that hockey player. Oh, okay. Here's one other note. Okay. Have a drink if you want. I'm making a pledge. If the Burn Purple podcast has to get a big gathering of Shatheads, I'll be there. Biggest Graham. I'll share my biggest Graham regret. Well, if we do, then Graham will be there. Or could be there, unless you don't want to. But he, Alice wanted to do a 500 episode one. There's a castle in Haverhill, or Haverhill, depending on where you are, Massachusetts, that we just happened to walk around, and it's kind of a cool place. She thought of doing something there. It's like, there's no good, where we are is out of the way for almost everybody, unless you're, I don't even know what to call this, like in the upper Merrimack Valley. I don't even know, this area is an odd area in Massachusetts. It's might as well just say it's Portsmouth, New Hampshire, or Newburyport, Massachusetts. So it's kind of a hike from everybody. So I don't know where we do it if we did something. But we will have a gathering. We will. I mean, I kind of like gatherings. It's kind of my thing. I kind of like throwing a little party. I have friends. I have friends who would like to be part of it too, and it would be cool. So yeah. They're touched. That's right. That's right. Per live shot carrying. Trish says, yeah, that's the John Kerry from yesterday. Do I have that right here? Where is that? Is that here? Or is that over the other thing? Let me see. Here's John Kerry. God, he's so ridiculous. Selected. Uh-oh. Hey, John. Here we go. Here's Kerry.
And when you stop and think about it, it's pretty extraordinary that we, select group of human beings,
can you imagine?
Because of whatever touched us at some point in our lives, are able to sit in a room and come together and actually talk about saving the planet. I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial to think about, quote, saving the planet. And if you said that to most people
would be like, whatever, go back to the guy is just a delusional guy. Imagine being so into yourself that you talk like that. All right, and one other thing I wanted to talk about was Taylor Lorenz. Taylor Lorenz says, let me find this. This gets me. Uh-oh. Alice, you wait till tomorrow. She's sending me stories now from her deathbed. You wait till tomorrow. She's going to have some stuff. She's going to get us in trouble tomorrow. She's already sending me a whole bunch of crud. Okay, here's Taylor Lorenz. Listen to this. You know her. She's this psycho who's like probably 47 who claims she's like 26. She goes and she's got like from a family that's got billions of dollars. Privileged upbringing in Connecticut, not surprisingly. And she tweeted out today, she's destroyed lives. She doxes people, etc. Then when you go after her, she claims she's a victim and she's depressed and she gets attacked and her life's in danger. Whatever. She's just a wastoid disgrace. She said today, does anyone have any resources to try to combat a CEO pushing to force mandatory in-office time? Asking for a friend. I'm permanently remote. CEO. How do you combat a CEO pushing to force mandatory in-office time? What the frig is wrong with these pusses? Can you believe it? I mean, I saw it in the last couple of years of being at the Boston Herald. I could see the creep that was happening. I could see more people in my own building, like asking me, like, why. I'm going to some bitch yelled at me. I forgot what his name was. Some dude, like 25-year-old dude, like yelled at me when I was in the break room or something, like, you're whatever freaking fascist, like F you and like Trump and things you do. Like, I had never met him. I don't know. I know that he was really young and he just made his way out. Some other people yelled, like, would bark at me here and there for something. Meanwhile, remember, I'm doing my job. I'm a columnist for the paper with an opinion. They were such bitches that they couldn't stand that I had an opinion that was different than theirs, and that Trump had won, so their feelings were hurt. And the media that they digested told them that it was historically bad. My goodness, not since Hitler. So, like, they're already, like, bitchy. Oh, God. coming at me. I never came at them from their stupid freaking stories and Liz Warren's dog, for Christ's sakes. God. Just suck it up. You suck it up. God, there's some exceptions in there. But, well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of exceptions in there. I mean, when I was there, obviously Joe Battenfeld is an adult. He didn't act like a kid. Hillary Chabot was an adult. Cashman was an adult. Howie obviously is an adult. Peter, what's Peter's last name? Peter, I can't remember. Anyway, but he's good. And Heslam is an adult. Heslam and I used to write head-to-head columns. Me going after her going after me. Sometimes we'd politely debate in the newsroom, and nobody's feelings were hurt. It's fine. Heslam can take it. I'm sure I'm leaving some other people out, but I mean there are some. It's just generational, but there are also some people who It's just a weird thing having people from your own paper go after your columns. I'm not saying I never lost an ounce of sleep over it, but I had one person try to get me fired because of somebody I had on the Herald Radio and some stuff I wrote and tweeted and said I should be fired. They shouldn't, and she quit in protest because I was still there. This is how it was. And that's why, and that's back. This is 10 years ago now. Now I assume it's over. So. I don't know. I didn't see the coverage that the Herald did. Now that the other news stories have picked up on how bad the MLK statue is in Boston, maybe now they'll do something too, which is what they should have done. They should have thrown a bomb, into that news cycle with slamming the MLK statue. It's terrible. It's terrible. You've got a guy who's iconic, who is one of the most influential Americans, really world citizens, civil rights leaders, right up there with Gandhi, who has a striking appearance, who happen to have a beautiful wife, and you don't depict either of them. If you got just this stupid arm thing that looks very Vice Squad-y, something phallic or worse is happening there. That's not me. But I mean, I would have absolutely. I mean, there's things that I always felt that, and I wasn't the editor, and the editor was great when I was there. The editor when I was there, Shaka was great. Joe Shaka was great. But there are, and he had considerations to make here and there about the big world thing. But I always felt like I would have been fully in on this trans stuff, fully in on the Kirk and Jerry stuff. It's easy for me to say against the Red Sox. I'm sure I wrote columns about it. I did when I got to the Lowell Sun. But I mean, there were wars I thought that we should fight. Then again, I didn't get to see the whole battlefield, and I didn't have the internal crap going on. Well, I did have some of the internal crap going on. I wasn't told about it till later. Like inside the building, that it's a union shop, or was a union shop. Essentially, they sold that away, but they're still there. Irony can be pretty ironic. I'm seeing this here. Let's see. Feel free to ask anything, guys. Anything. They're touched per live shot carry. Rasheed Walters at the Herald is off. I just saw somebody talk about him. Was he on Howie or something? Is this guy? Is he a reporter or a columnist, or what is he? That's great. If there's good new talent there. I don't want to say that there isn't talent there. There is, but it's just the business model doesn't allow for a lot of talent. I'm glad Bats is still there. That Battenfeld is there. I always loved working with Joe Battenfeld. I thought he was a very interesting and cool guy, and very good at his job. It's interesting when you see good reporters kick into gear. It's a gutsy profession. I mean, when you watch them with sharp elbows go around. I also, working at newspapers, if I could take it back, I used to, when I first got there, and I was like joking about how we used to steal from newspapers on talk radio, and like I had no time for photojournalists. I just thought, like, what, you take pictures for a living? I learned a valuable lesson when I got to the Boston Herald about what goes into all those news stories that we used for talk radio. And I saw how they built it out and how talented these photojournalists were. Like, Garfinkel and all these guys are incredible. did you get any pushback from Alice's parents when you began dating due to your difference in age? It's funny you say that, Julian Phil. No, I didn't. Although I kind of expected to. I mean, first when Alice and I were dating, I was 37 and she was 23, and you know, I had been like on dates with other. It was a time when I was just like, I was talking to other women, age appropriate women, and then Alice came on the scene, and she was like really young. And I remember talking to my friend, a woman my age, who was my friend, married to my best friend, and her saying, "Well, that's interesting, but I mean, obviously, you can't make her your girlfriend or anything. She's way too young." And I said, "Obviously, she's a kid. I mean, what are we gonna do?" And so I didn't think so. But Alice, the more we hung out, the more it was like, you know, it's interesting. She does everything I like to do. She knows more about politics than anybody I'd ever dated. She's the first conservative I've ever dated. But I also assumed that, that it would be a phase for her, and it was only a matter of time. Obviously, I thought it was awesome because I was like, oh my god, she looks ridiculously beautiful. And so, did I get pushback from Alice's parents? No, because I think that the family, and this is going to sound even more unhealthy, the family were talk radio fans, I think. And so they kind of thought it was cool that Alice, I think this is right. Alice can give us some clarity. But I think they kind of thought it was cool because they at least a couple of them listened to the Michael Graham show. And so I was on the show. Alice is her own person. And I had her, like, she didn't really fit with the personality of somebody who was 23, like some emo millennial like bitchy dude. It didn't make, and she wasn't into that stuff. She was into what older guy stuff, man stuff, I guess. I'm not calling myself a man, believe me. Obviously you can see by all the stuff that Alice does all the man stuff, really. But she just liked me, and she thought I was funny, etc. And so no, I very humbly like introduced myself to her. Well, her mother was always very easy to get along with, it and very interesting. She's great, and her dad's kind of an interesting guy. He's from Serbia, and but he was instantly friendly, and it was like there was nothing like that. I certainly thought that would be a situation. I also went there hat in hand. I was not like I didn't go in there like a punk. I mean, I was obviously like, I had some things going for me. One, they knew some of my personality from listening to me on the radio. Two, they knew I was employed from listening to me on the radio, and they knew a little bit of my life from listening to me on the radio. Alice quickly was hanging out with us, and you know, I was back then hanging out a lot with my brother, and my mother was alive back then, and so you know, quickly everybody met, and so no. So there was not really, wasn't really any pushback from Alice's parents, which in retrospect was probably a mistake on their part. But hey, you know what? Sometimes you win some, you know? Trish says, Alice is what we affectionately call an old soul. She is. No, you're right about that. My goodness, Trish. She is an old soul. You should see her baking cookies. Like, not even the flour is not from scratch. It's stone rolling, millstone crap, and she's she's absolutely into that. She's into basic. She's into basic. I mean, there's part of her that's the very old Yankee values. Her mother's a Yankee, and she's into like wooden toys, Waldorf school stuff, home cooking, prayer, family. Almost homesteading in a sense, you know, where we were had all the chickens and this and that, and she like went out and just slaughtered one, no big deal. There is part of her that's the Eastern European part of her, and I don't want to say anything about sorry, bad about Serbians, because the Serbian friends we have and the churchgoers, who we know are the best people on the earth. They're just so great. But there is a different style and culture, you know, in Serbia than you'd find generally in Lexington, Massachusetts. So that part of her is not old soulish. There's part of Alice and it's kind of gone now. But when we were first dating, it was so inappropriate. We used to go to Harry's. I used to live in Brighton near Harry's bar, and Alice came in one time with essentially the exact Oops, I Did It Again, Britney Spears outfit, like the red leather thing. She was so inappropriate and so much younger than me that there was no doubt that everybody there knew for a fact that she was an escort that I had purchased her from Kazakhstan or something. So there were times when like the glittery Eastern European thing like would go way over the top, and she was like all for it. She had when I met her, she had this Christmas tree that was all made of silver, like titanium shards. It was like this cold Slavic thing represent, and she had part of her that when she went out, she dressed like that and had like the eye makeup and stuff. It was over the top Eastern European, and it was really hot. So what was I gonna really say? I knew that it was that, like, this isn't really a Yankee. And she and plus it was out of my comfort zone. I used to hang out with my friend Eddie all the time, and then suddenly Alice, I'm in my Brighton apartment, which is a cool apartment. I miss it. And then Alice suddenly comes there, and she's all like, she threw off the equation because she was all like really short skirts and this and that, and she'd hang with the guys. So we'd eat pizza, she'd eat pizza, we'd drink vodka and cocktails, and she'd drink vodka and cocktails. And her tolerance wasn't great. It's not now. But she'd hang with her, but she threw off the, and although like she dated other guys. We weren't exclusive. I mean, we were dating a lot, and she wanted a commitment, and I said, this is all, nobody knows this. And I said, like, we're not going to have a commitment. You're 23. And she, like, used to be in my car and, like, switching the radio station every 4 seconds, which is, like, what a 23-year-old does. And I'm like, is this legal, really? And so I said, no, we can have fun and hang out. And, we did. And we used to go exploring all around the state together. And she was fun. She had no hang-ups, no baggage, unlike my most recent girlfriend at the time, where everything was a problem. Would never want to go exploring with me. But I was like, but she wanted to be exclusive. And I said, you're 23. Like, what am I going to... This is awesome in many ways, but but it's not. You can't. I'm not going to date somebody who was born when I was in high school, But then, so she kind of dated, and I kind of dated. But then she, like, according to her, you can ask her too. But she kind of pursued me, and she was in it to win it. So there you go. I mean, believe me, if this was 13 years ago, this podcast, or if I was in the same, this would be a very different thing back then, because I was a single guy with my older single friends. We were all, around 37, 40, whatever at that time. And we were very single. We were talking about, wanting to hook up with chicks and this and that, and it was getting pretty sad that time. You won't be surprised to know. So that's what that was. So they never gave me any crap, really. And then they were all for it, like with the wedding and this and that, and so no pushback. I assumed that her sisters and brothers were horrified, and like I would be, and I hope they were, because why don't this fat old ogre around? But they never told me anyway. They've probably warmed to me a little bit since then. They're all awesome. They're all great in their fun. It's really a great family, I gotta say. I am lucky because all my family is dead, other than my brother. I've got extended. I shouldn't say that. I've got cousins and uncles and aunts and all that stuff. But for the most part, they're mostly dead. Okay, shall we do the? Oh, but I want to talk about Taylor Lorenz, by the way. With that, like, they're making me come into work. I'm so sick of like bitchy workers. A lot of them I think just aren't working anymore. But when I was a manager, it was just, I'm so happy not to be a manager. I'm so done with attitudes and hurt feelings of millennials, where you got to say something nice before you criticize them, and then quickly douse it with something nice again, or else they're bursting into flames. I'm so sick of that. Not all of them. Some of them were awesome. Some suck, but I don't want to be the one who hires anymore. I'm like, believe me, when I interview people for jobs, I'm mostly thinking about throwing myself out the window. Like, what am I doing with my life? Okay, so now it's time for the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce Shot Chat. By the way, I just whacked out my avocado today. When I filled in both reservoirs with Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce, bleeping delicious. Now, according to Wake 180 Weight Loss, I'm only allowed to have one a week, which hurts me because they're ripe right now. Alice feels too sick to eat another one. The kids don't want two more. Two of them are ripe. Judgment call. Judgment call. Chelsea Fire Wicked Hotline. Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce, the best hot sauce. You guys, thank you for supporting them. That's great. But it's great, isn't it? It's like I'm glad. I'm just thrilled. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Poor Alice is missing this. All right, let me get a drink first. Cheers. Social. Remember that? You used to want to strangle the people who said social. Okay.
Hey, Tom and Alice, it's Dana from Maine.
Hey, Dana.
Just taking a walk in the morning and just wanted to plead for help.
Yeah.
I need you guys to help me out here. I've noticed that my screen time on my phone was really high and mostly Twitter. And I've decided to quit cold turkey, at least for a bit.
Ooh.
I'm starting to get the shakes, so I need you guys to step up and fill in all those gaps. Not that you haven't been doing that already, but I really need your help because I don't want to look at that damn thing anymore.
I know.
All right. Thanks.
Dana, I
Bye.
appreciate it. I'm glad you're out for the walk. Definitely listen to a podcast if you're on the walk. That's what I do. I don't look at a lot of social media while I'm walking. Sometimes I check in if I think somebody's trying to get a hold of me, if I'm trying to book a guest and I want to see the status. So Twitter, that's a tough one. There's nothing in social media that I've quit. I certainly do. Sometimes, like when you like eat a full bag of Ruffles, sometimes I feel like sick after being on social media. But I do use it for finding stories. It's really a news story aggregator for me mostly. So I kind of use it as that tool. It doesn't really stress me out. Sometimes, a couple of times in years past when I've on the end of some heat, I was a little bit like, oh my God, there's 1,000 people who are all mad at me, and it can get to you a little bit. But I'm not. I don't think I'm really addicted to my phone. I do use it all the time, but I think Alice is definitely. She is definitely addicted. I guarantee you right now, one lung has collapsed, and she is almost flatlining, and she is still scrolling through Twitter. She is absolutely into it. Dana, I would like to know why you're quitting Twitter. Exactly. I mean, I know why you would want to. But and also, like, if it's making you upset, then there's no reason. There's no skin in the game in Twitter for people to go in and be an a-hole and sit around and try to find ways to get at you and hurt your feelings, whatever. And also, it's like it's a reservoir for bad news. Oh, that's why. Yeah, that's why. Like I said earlier. Maybe I didn't say. I meant to. I saw another person tweet today. My dog went over the Rainbow Bridge today. Like, I would rather hear about it. Like a panda being run over than somebody talking about, like, this is where we go to talk about our dead dogs. Come on. It's on Facebook, too. Does this have to be a place of death? Mom would have been 67 today. God, really? Can we have somewhere else for dark, morbid things? God, I'm not trying to be insensitive. It's like, come on. The Rainbow Bridge. Ugh. Sorry, didn't mean to be, but come on. When my dog dies, there will not be a tweet about my dog from me. My wife will, but there will not be. My kids who do almost nothing to support our effort to have a dog will suddenly all be sad. Okay. So there you go. Guess I'm a jerk. But Dana, let me know. I also want to know how long you're walking in for, how long you're walking in, what's kind of place you're walking in?
Hey, Tom and Alice. I seen some things sold exclusively from Sam's Club, and it's made with real sugar, and it made me think of something Tom likes, a cookie of some sort, made with real sugar. Mm-hmm. And there's a vast amount of them in this packaging. Ooh. So, Tom, let me know if you want me to ship it your way. Ugh. I think you'd eat the whole box, probably one night.
I actually gotten this weird, I don't know what caused it. Maybe you guys have done the same, but back when I was thin, 20 years ago, I was jogging. I quit smoking when I turned 30, and so I started jogging, and I lost a bunch of weight, and I was like, I was in fighting shape, good looking enough, thin, or I could wear normal clothes. It was good. But man, I'd sometimes at night, especially after a few beers, I'd go to CVS on Beacon Hill near me where we lived and annihilate a box of Chips Ahoy. I don't know what did it, because other than that, those outbreaks, I would not eat any carbs or anything sugary. So, but believe me, believe me, Justin, I miss biting into it. My kids have cookies. My daughter knows how to bake cookies now. I see the chocolate cookies and I see them like wet and warm still, and part of me has to like brace myself so I don't pass out. I want them so much. I have screenshots now of this pasta ad that I keep seeing around, and I showed Alice. I am like sexually attracted. I don't want to make love to the pasta, but it's like it's right up there with my lust for anybody else. Like Kate Upton is here. That pasta is up here. Now I don't mean actual. You know what I mean. I think women probably know what I mean more, because a woman I used to know in the hotels used to say, women transition after a while from men to sex to food. I don't get it. Now I get it. All right.
I think Alice needs to submit another grievance to HR at the Burn Barrel Pod headquarters.
What?
All she did yesterday was say that I had a real Boston accent, and Tom accuses her of essentially cheating, ready to run away from home, leave the kids, abandon him.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Tom's got callers seeking out leads for him on Tinder, I don't know, seniors seeking seniors, Grindr even, all on the podcast. There's a complete hypocrisy. There's not a complete equitable division of labor. And Alice, I will submit any affidavit you need. Tom, by the way, affidavit is not a dating app.
Are you sure? So, first of all, Tim, you make a good point there, because I do like objectify women and talk about women and talk about all sorts of stuff. And Alice like really doesn't do that. She's got this dignity thing where she definitely is intrigued by your accent. There's no doubt about that. And she loves Mike Geary. That is a little more worrisome, because she makes noises when watching him sometimes, like that she doesn't think I can hear. That said, yes, and I also bring up ex-girlfriends a lot around her, and all sorts of subject matter around that, which is, I think, probably very low level, like insecurity, compensation by me. Probably, I think any shrink would say, "Tom, just stop it. It's okay. Okay, just she's not mentioning ex-boyfriends because she's secure. You feel that you need to compensate." So that you're bringing up, like, adding extra points with these ex-girlfriends, which may or may not exist. It's pathetic. I cop to it. But, yeah, she does like your accent. I don't know if her exes had... Well, no, one was a Russian kid. I think off the boat, Russian. Figures, because she kind of has Putin's eyes.
Starting to think I miss my calling doing voice acting. Really starting to think that. Okay, let's try this one. It's wicked hot.
So, that much phlegm work makes me want to throw up, obviously. But that said, I assume, does that Gollum, Justin? I assume? I think it was probably pretty good if it was. Oh, and I did love those movies pretty much. There were a lot of work, though. A lot of CGI happening in those. I did read the books. That's pretty much the last books I read in 1984, the Lord of the Rings.
Example number 1001 of why I love this podcast. In talking about accents, it turned into Tom not wanting to share a story that nobody had asked about, and then basically implicating a former colleague or friend in committing potential insurance fraud.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't trust you to return my library book at this point. But keep up the good work.
Beers. Yeah, no, that was a friend of ours. It's funny because that kid, also from Malton, I cut off my friendship with him. I shouldn't say that. The day I got my job at Intercom, which was the job as the male receptionist at 30 years old, mind you. I committed myself so hard to radio that that was the last time I ever talked to him. I ghosted him from that day because he was too risky, and I said I can't have the new people mingle with some of the old people who were more toxic and just trouble. And, there were some drugs involved and whatever. And so I was like, you can't have it because I'm trying to get in with impress the new people so I can get off of, so I can be a receptionist and then do more stuff somehow into radio. And it takes some doing, especially when you're the receptionist. It's not like I'm an intern pressing buttons in the studio. I got a lot of work to do to get in there. So I needed to totally commit, which I did. And so I have not seen him since 2004, I guess. That was that. Yep. Sorry about that. I didn't mean nothing personal. No, it's just fine.
On the different accents and all that.
Yeah.
And Tom, come on now.
Yes.
You've never been told that you used to look like, maybe, and sound like Peter Griffin from Family Guy? Just wondering. That's a Rhode Island accent, I think. Have a good one.
That is a Rhode Island accent. No, not quite, you know. No, I realize that is obviously an insult, but no. I'm okay. A couple of things. One, I like Seth MacFarlane's work. I think he's brilliant. I like a lot about Family Guy. I never hugely got into it. My dance card was full with The Simpsons and South Park mostly. I do appreciate Family Guy. I have not been told that about Peter Griffin. I will tell you something that's similar, though. I was told to go as Dwight Schrute to a Halloween party, at a big Halloween party in like 2005 or 6. And so I got my glasses. I had my Dwight Schrute outfit on, and everybody there called me Tommy Boy to a person. Nobody thought I was Dwight Schrute. That was it. And then I was unconscious on the ladies' couches. People partied around me. Then I went home in the morning, and that was that party. Great party. Tommy Boy enjoyed himself that night. All right. Let us see.
Hey there, Tom. This is Jack Nicholson.
Oh, wow.
Just letting you know, Alice's chest is quite 100% real.
What?
Thought I'd let you know, man.
No way. There's no way. How would you keep that secret from me? That's a big one. A Hollywood secret? Man. No, but I was, yeah, I can't comment. Alice apparently is very sensitive about that issue. I'll just say that, as all of us husbands are, I'm quite pleased. That's it. That's also innocent, no problem. I realize Alice's family listens to this. I don't want any more trouble. I've already burned some bridges.
Hey, Tom. I was going to leave a message about a couple different topics.
Yeah.
Including defending Tim and Canton and his horrible accent. Talk a little bit about classified documents and how to store them properly.
Yeah.
Your skincare routine.
Yep.
But once I found out Alice wasn't on the show,
I
figured I'd change things up a little bit.
There we go.
So I guess I had a sort of a serious question, which is, and you don't have to disclose the exact amount, but since it is an Ask Me Anything, how much do you guys spend on childcare? Because I have one kid on which we spend several $100s a week, and that's with a lot of help from in-laws and grandparents and whatnot. I don't know how you guys do it with 4, because you seem to spend a lot of time not with the kids. And also wondering when it comes to life expectancy.
Hold on one second. Let me start with childcare. I think of this life expectancy one. I think I don't know where that's going. So childcare, we don't spend anything anymore. Well, I mean, I should. The kids are always. We used to send our daughter to daycare and then our son and daughter to daycare. That was very expensive, and I think at that point, and Alice it was so expensive when we had them full time. When I worked in radio and she worked in like fashion, we had dropped them off at like 8 in the morning, picked them up at like 5 or 6 at night, and for 2 of them, and it was what, $1,000 a week or more. I don't know. It was so expensive that essentially Alice's job, which was in fashion, only paid for daycare. It was so expensive. It's heartbreaking how expensive childcare is. So freaking expensive. Thankfully, we found this woman who was cheaper than everybody else. I don't know if she had a license. I know that she smoked because the kids all came home smelling like smoke. She had 18 cats and I think a couple of meth addicts who were like always like hanging around her house. And so, but at least she was flexible, didn't give a damn, and she was cheap. It was a lifesaver for us. We tried to get a nanny at some point too. That fell through. There was a hot one I wanted. Alice wouldn't let me get her, and so and we got another one who was a psychotic and never really worked. So that fell through. We never had no money really to have a nanny, but it was really expensive. So now we're not. So now what happens now is we've got our 12-year-old for the school year. Our 12-year-old goes off to school, and our 9-year-old, and if he is 9, I'm not even sure, but I think he's 9. 9-year-old and 7-year-old and 5-year-old. Alice gives them schoolwork. This is all on a really good day. Ideally, this is how the plan goes. Alice gives them schoolwork. They work on their schoolwork. And she and I just do. I'm on air at 11. Before that, I'll make them breakfast. Either she or I'll make them lunch. We feed them throughout the day. And I just, for my 4 hours, I check on them whenever I can while I'm on the air. And then Alice checks on them when she can and does stuff with them. And, you know, some days are better than others. Sometimes we have to throw them the screens. Or some days are great and they're doing all their homework and they're excellent downstairs and having fun. Sometimes they're yelling at each other. But for those 4 hours, I'm kind of tied up except for every top of the hour, bottom of the hour, where I have a few minutes to check in and say, how you guys doing? What can I get you? Etc. And Alice, and then I'm after 3 o'clock. I'm free. So before 11 and after 3, I'm attentive. There's that area in the middle there. It's a little tough. And Alice has a lot of meetings, work meetings. We both work at home, so we're right there with them. So it can be difficult. But yeah, I understand the childcare thing, man. I understand it. It's a heartbreaker how terrible it is.
Wondering when it comes to life expectancy, I don't know, how much longer or shorter do you think you would have lived or will live since you got together with Alice? Has she contributed to your longer stay on this earth, or a potentially truncated one and an untimely death? Not to be morbid.
No, it's a good question, Danny, because my dad died when he was 69. My mother died when she was like 72. I'm 50 now, so I don't know. I assume that I'll be getting whacked out by cancer at some point in the next few years. I assume we're a big cancer family. It's not great, but like my dad died of cancer, my grandfather died of cancer, my great uncle, like we all get cancer in this family. My mother died of cancer. My aunt died of cancer very young. So I mean, I think that Alice, we don't really talk about it that much, but I think that she's got a contingency in her mind for it. I assume she'd probably sell this house and move elsewhere, whether or not that's depending on what gigs she had, or maybe not. Maybe she'd stay here. But I think that she has. If I didn't have somebody like her who was younger with that much energy, and she's a strong person, like literally her body is strong. I can't imagine, like the girlfriend I had before Alice, who was my age exactly, would have been probably mostly immobile, probably in a deep depression. And it would be me tending to her and the kids. It could have been a nightmare scenario. So I'm very blessed. And I don't think, and Alice is 35 now, but and I know that's not 23, but it's very young, and she's in good shape. She's just naturally like built to last, I think. So I think that she helps me in that way. You know, I would just I wish that we made our full-time living doing this. You know, so that we could spend less time, that she could spend less time having to work. Because I think there are other things we'd like to do, and it would give us more opportunities. But no, I think, yeah, I assume I'll be tapping out in the next few years. I don't know, but you know, maybe not. Who knows? You never quite know, do you? But I need Alice to not die. That's important. She needs to stay around because, you know, the kids can deal without me. You know, they've got burn barrels to watch if they miss. There's not much else that I really do. But very good question, Danny. All the questions are good. All the comments are good. Everybody, I appreciate it. I will give Alice your best, and hopefully she will be feeling good. I'm not going to say all the Alice stuff with all the stuff to say all the time, but hopefully she's feeling better. I did get her some really cool-looking medicine. She said, "What's in it?" Just take it. What do you have to lose? What's in it? Who cares? When I was tending bar, and I would, and somebody would say, like, "Okay, can I have it? What can you just make me whatever drink you'd have?" And I'd be like, "Oh, whatever." And I'd make a Manhattan, and they'd say, "What's in it?" Shut up! You wanted, I would not say in the sound. It's like you're at the bar. I'm the bartender. You asked me to make something. Just drink it, okay? And by the way, the only people I ever wanted to murder in my life with a gun right on the spot are men who would return drinks to me because they were too strong and I made them. That is disgraceful. Disgraceful. Come on, guys. Come on. Should I try Alice's special effects? Hello, 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 hello. Seriously, thank you. Thank you for all the great questions and all the great feedback, too.
C'est la vie.
All right. I'm stopping this recording, and then I'm going to go over to that machine over there and stop that recording. 105 without the ball and chain. Not too bad, right?